Welcome back. And in this one, we're going to be going over Etsy's new hand-picked policies, which is now throwing a lot of things into that category. And there's a couple things in there that are a little shady. I'm not going to lie. So let's share the screen and just go straight into that to see what they have in store for us here and what you have to look out for. Because like I said, there's a couple of things in here that are pretty shady. Okay, so we've gone over the made by and the design by. If you haven't seen those are more videos in this playlist. Let's look at what they consider handpicked by a seller. Okay, this used to be vintage and it used to be other things, but they've shuffled the deck, they've moved things around, and vintage is gone. Okay, vintage as a category is now gone. It's handpicked by a seller. Okay. Think of this as pickers, like American Pickers, the show. They're picking things, it's not sourcing. I know that a lot of vintage sellers use sourcing, but that is a different term that Etsy is using for something else. Okay, so handpicked by a seller does incorporate the vintage category. It's vintage items, items from nature, which would be things like rocks, crystals. I mentioned in a previous video, I bought sea glass from an Etsy seller once. So sea glass and certain collections of items that a seller personally selected and curated for sale. Okay, this is the part, I'm probably just going to leave that in and not edit it out. That gets me. Okay, and I'm going to go into this in depth. But let's start here. Okay, so items handpicked by a seller include only vintage items, items that are 20 plus years old, the seller personally curated or collected. This also includes digital files of scanned vintage content like photographs, books, or patterns, as long as they comply with our intellectual property policy, meaning that they're public domain, okay? Etsy may ask for additional photo documentation or information about vintage items in your shop, such as their source, age, designer, or materials. So this gives Etsy the ability to contact you and say, prove to us that it's 20 years old or more, right? And that's clearly for people who have marked like modern Nintendo games as vintage or handmade or whatever. But this policy has not changed. It's still 20 years or older. They have lumped scanned vintage items in with this, though. So if you sell vintage items that are scanned in, like public domain vintage images that are scanned in and available for download, it's now in this section. So this is a handpicked by product now. It's not considered digital. It's not considered vintage. It's considered handpicked because you didn't really design it, right? It's somebody else's design, but it is public domain, so you could legally sell it. And the examples they give are a rockabilly dress in the 50s, a copy of the book The Little Prince from the 40s, just anything that is 20 years old or older, or the scanned public domain vintage items. Okay. Another thing that's included is items from nature, one-of-a-kind natural items that the seller personally found or cultivated, as long as they are permitted by our policies for plants, herbs, seeds, and soil, and endangered or threatened wildlife products. So you still can't sell things that are prohibited, but you can sell things that like crystals. I mean, it's basically, they've just moved those items into this category. It's not like they've changed what can be sold. They've just moved it into this category. Okay, so this is hand-picked. So you've picked it off the ground. You've chosen to pick that one up. And this says the item might have been mounted, potted, polished, or sliced for collection, display, or cultivation, so long as it was formed organically rather than man-made. Okay, so if you had a question and you're like, well, I collect rocks, but I put them in a polisher, I tumble the rocks, is that handmade or is it like handpicked? It's handpicked. Okay, so as long as the thing, it's like it is the thing that it was. You're not making it into jewelry. You're not making it into something else. That would be a raw material in that case, and that would go into the handmade. If you're selling it in the form that it was, even if you've done something to it, so it's still a crystal, it's still a rock, it's still sea glass. It doesn't matter if you've done something to it, as long as you haven't made it into something else, then it goes into the handpicked. Okay. And the examples are a rock, a geode, a shell, a fossil, a plant or a plant start, and a dried flower. Okay, so this is all handpicked now. This is the one that makes my head hurt because when they made this announcement, they said, we have not changed what is allowed to be sold on Etsy. That was straight up not true because this is different. This is different. And this opens the door to so much. Okay, gift baskets. In the past, I think that the policy on gift baskets was that everything in it had to be handmade. You couldn't put commercial items in it. This is the new gift basket policy. An assortment of different types of items that the seller personally selected and creatively packaged to create a new, unique set. Gift baskets must have a clear theme that ties together a variety of different types of items that were individually selected by the seller. Generic concepts such as candy, clothes, or mystery boxes with unknown contents or containing a single type of item in bulk do not qualify as gift basket themes. You cannot sell mystery boxes on Etsy, period. You cannot. You have to tell people what they're going to get. You cannot sell mystery boxes. It's done. Sellers must list every item. I'm going to highlight this. Sellers must list every item contained in a curated gift basket or box in the listing description. Okay. So you can't say, here's a box with 10 packages of Doritos, because that's a single type of item in bulk. Okay. You can't sell snack packs. Okay. That's a single type of item in bulk. However, the way that I'm reading this is if I get a basket and I put some tissue paper in it, and I put a bag of Doritos and a chocolate bar that's made by a different company and a bottle of soda and maybe some Tums, because you're going to be sick, right? After you eat all that, and just load it up. And I call it the Sweet Lover's Delight gift basket that you can sell. Okay, that's how I'm reading this. I think Etsy really needs to come in and clarify this, but I don't think they're going to, because I think basically this is how they are allowing commercially sold items to be sold on Etsy now, because they've just given up. There's so much stuff out there, and they really like the idea of gifts, right? So why not? Why not just go with it? Why not just give up? And this is how they've given up. So I don't know how much creativity and thought has to go in it. And I'm going to go, I'm not going to do this, honestly, but I think there are a lot of people who are going to be running down to the dollar store to creatively curate some crappy gift baskets that they're now going to sell for $50 on Etsy. Tie it up with a piece of cellophane. Okay. Can you tell from my mood, from my tone, what I think about this? This is a major change. And this is not what they said yesterday when they said nothing has changed about what can be sold, because this is BS. This is crap. Okay. There are examples of what can be sold. A new dog parent themed gift box containing an assortment of dog treats or dog bags, leash, and a dog themed coffee mug. Or I could just sell a bunch of Doritos. I could sell Doritos. And like I said, I could put, I took a picture yesterday of a basket with a jar of Advil and some Tums and a quarter in it. And I put that in my Facebook group. And I said, this is legal on Etsy now. And I'm going to call it the Etsy Seller Survival Gift Basket. Advil for your headache, Tums for your stomach ache, and a quarter so you can at least have a profit. And that's all I have to say about that. So look, this is some BS. This has just now opened the door. And a lot of people were asking me, if I sell a handmade product, can I now sell additional things with it, like as an add-on that I couldn't do before? Because you can't sell add-ons because they're commercially made. Well, apparently, if you call it a gift basket, you can. Okay. Because if you're creatively curating, but you have to sell the whole thing, and you have to say you're getting this. You can't do it as an add-on. You can't say, if you buy this, you can also buy these variations. You still can't do that. But if you lump it all together as a gift basket and you give it a theme, then apparently that's okay. Now, I would not be surprised if Etsy comes in and like alters this a little bit, but not to the extent that I personally would think they would want to do. But let's just one more time reiterate that they did not use the word handmade once on this page at all. Okay, so that's all. All right, the following are examples of things that do not qualify as handpicked by a seller. Reselling commercially available items that are newer than 20 years old, even if the item is designed to appear vintage, unless you put it in a gift basket, okay? Because that contradicts this. So you figure that out. Okay, so you can't list individual things, which is what I was saying with the add-ons to things. You can't resell commercially available items that are new. You can't do that unless it's in a gift basket. Okay, something else that is not allowed is reselling commercially available gift baskets. So you can't go to the dollar store and buy their gift baskets and sell it without changing anything in it. You also cannot sell gift baskets with a single item type or from a single commercial brand. So you can't get like a 12-pack of Hershey bars and sell that. You have to put the Hershey bars in 12 different gift baskets, and then it's okay. As opposed to a collection of different items. Yeah, so you have to creatively package them. How creative? I don't know. Who's deciding creativity? I could put them in a paper bag and draw a flower on the outside. That's creative. Okay, anyway. All right, listings for items handpicked by a seller must use a photo or video content of the real final product. All right, and again, I think this goes back to the mystery box thing. You cannot sell mystery boxes. Is that in this section? That's in the, let's see. Yeah, that's the mystery box thing. You cannot sell mystery boxes. You have to have a picture of the real final product. You have to disclose what's in them. And I am going to do a separate video about the listing item requirements. Okay, these are examples of items that do qualify as handpicked by a seller. Vintage jacket, a geode that a seller found in nature, a unique assortment of dried flowers, okay, and a book lover gift basket containing an assortment of different types of items that seller handpicked, curated, and creatively packaged to reflect the theme. I'm not even going to touch on that because I've already touched it way too much. Okay, examples of items that do not qualify as handpicked by a seller is like the 12-pack of the candy bars or mystery boxes. They specifically say mystery boxes are not allowed. That puts that question to rest. I hope that everybody who's like, I have mystery boxes, you better go take them down. Just take them down before Etsy takes them down, because then you're going to have strikes on your account. And we know what happens with that. And I am going to go and do a separate video about the content moderation policy also, because that's changed a little bit also. Okay, so handpicked by a seller has just opened the door, and we know this is a fundamental change in what is allowed to be sold on Etsy. So that's all. I mean, look, what can you do? They didn't use the word handmade once. That's it. Okay, so give this video a thumbs up. The next one that we're going to be doing is, what's the next one? Sourced, which, oh my God, the splitting of hairs here is very intense. Okay, so we're going to do sourced by a seller next. Give this one a thumbs up and get ready for the next one, because oh my God, there's so much to look at here. It's crazy. Okay. See you in the next video.